First at 9.
A very good evening to you and welcome to the News at 9, live from the News First Centre in Colombo. I'm Nadim Majid.
I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
Now, the US plans to form an international coalition to take action on Syria have been dealt a stinging blow from its closest ally, the United Kingdom. However, US Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel has said that the US will continue to engage with its allies over the Syrian crisis.
Is international intervention in Syria imminent? We have a comprehensive report coming up later on in the news, but first, a look at the headlines.
Headlines on News First at 9.
Customs seizes a stock of heroin valued at over 1.5 billion rupees. 4 army officers removed from their positions over the Ratupaswala incident. New Zealand's foreign minister assures President Mahinda Rajapaksa of New Zealand's commitment to ensure the highest standards in their dairy products.
News First at 9.
On to those stories in detail. Customs officers who inspected a suspicious container in Orugodawatta have discovered a stock of heroin valued at over 1.5 billion rupees.
Director of the Customs Revenue Supervision Unit, Mali Pearson, has said the heroin had been smuggled in concealed in grease containers. He added that inspections of the container were continuing, adding that he believed that more heroin would be found within. Director of the Customs Revenue Unit, Parakrama Basnaik, said that custom officers had recovered about 200 kilograms of heroin thus far.
I think that this is the biggest drug stash raided not only in the history of Sri Lanka customs but in the history of the nation. For several months since the container was brought down, our intelligence units have kept an eye on it, and we had it open today. It is a scary thought. We commenced this investigation on the 25th of June. We have made submissions to court. It was only today that we got the opportunity to open this container and inspect it with customs officials.
This is the biggest raid conducted in recent history, and it was conducted on a tip-off received by the Customs Revenue Supervision Unit. We consider this to be the largest stock of heroin seized in South Asia. The Pakistani national and the importer here who brought this into the country have been arrested. 4 people have been arrested thus far, and further investigations are underway.
UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Navi Pillay met with President Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees this afternoon.
Now, issuing a communique, the presidential spokesman and international media unit noted that the UN Human Rights Chief had acknowledged the post-war progress that has been made in Sri Lanka. The communique reads that the UN Human Rights Chief had also said that she was very pleased with the establishment of a commission to look into wartime disappearances. Pillay had also noted that there has been good cooperation between her office and the Sri Lankan government in facilitating her visit, and that she had received comprehensive briefings at all her meetings. The communique notes that President Rajapaksa had told the UN Human Rights Chief that he urged those who voice concerns about the UN being biased in the way it deals with countries not to prejudge the report that she is due to issue. Minister of External Affairs Professor G.L. Piris, Secretary to the President Lalit Weeratunga, Secretary to the Ministry of External Affairs Karunatilaka Amunugama, and Sri Lanka's Head of Mission to the UN in Geneva Ravinatha Aryasinghe were among those present at the meeting.
The third session of the Youth Parliament was held at the Sri Lanka Youth Auditorium in Maharagama. A group including Minister Dalasalah Peruma attended the sessions.
I am pleased to come to Sri Lanka at a time that the war has ended and the scourge of terrorism has hopefully been put behind you. This is a moment when the new generation in Sri Lanka can transcend the differences, prejudices and politics of their parents and play a transformative role in building a new society. I'm concerned when I see young people here and in the diaspora frozen in the hatreds that fueled the war. I am disturbed when religion is misused to mobilize young people of one community against another. But I am greatly encouraged when I hear about young people coming together from across communities to defend independent universities, to say no to ethnic and religious violence.
Meanwhile, the visiting UN Human Rights Chief met with a group of Tamil National Alliance representatives today. The Tamil National Alliance was represented by a group including its parliamentary group leader R. Sambandhan. Our lands have been taken over by the army. They are not letting our people settle in their own lands. We informed her of this. We also told her that the government has not shown its willingness to solve the problems faced by the Tamils. That is the biggest problem that we are encountering at present. The way I see it, though the government says that they want to solve our problems, they do not have an intention to do so. We also pointed this out to her. She told us that she would submit a report to the UN Human Rights Commission. She said that she was able to speak to the people of the north and get their feedback on what happened. We said that the people she spoke to were severely inconvenienced. She said that she would look into it. We directed her attention to the joint statement that was issued on the 26th of May 2009 between the President and Ban Ki-moon. According to the joint statement, the government had pledged to address 3 problems that were mentioned on it. However, 4 years have lapsed since then. These issues are yet to be addressed. She pledged that she would look into the resettlement process and alleged war crimes. A political solution was to be found. However, even this has not materialized as yet. She said that during her visit to the north and east, following consultations with the people, she was able to delve deep into all areas. She said that she would raise her concerns in the future as well. She pledged that the United Nations, through its activities, will try and make a change in the country. Meanwhile, Navi Pillay, the UN Human Rights Chief, met with Minister of Economic Development, Basil Rajapaksa, at his ministry. A meeting was also held between opposition leader Ranil Wickremesinghe and Navi Pillay at the opposition leader's residence. We spoke about democracy, good governance, supremacy of the law and media freedom. Furthermore, the leader of the Janasatha Peramuna, Venerable Battaramulle Sirirathan Thera, arrived at the United Nations office in Colombo to hand over a letter. The letter was received by a representative of the UN Human Rights Commissioner. We urged Navi Pillay that Sri Lanka is a small country and that there are no divisions between the Sinhalese and the Tamils. Navi Pillay is a great and an efficient lady. Certain politicians instigate problems in the country. Hence, writing a letter to Navi Pillay, I requested her to act in a disciplined manner. Meanwhile, a letter was also handed over to the visiting Human Rights Commissioner by Deputy Minister of Fisheries, Sarat Kumar Gunaratna. I informed her in a letter that when President Rajapaksa is developing the country and when there is a close relationship between India and Sri Lanka, why is that a group headed by Jayalalitha Jairam is trying to destroy the ocean resources? The Navy is also helpless.
You're watching the news at 9 on News First. On a lighter note, up next is the newspaper cartoon of the day.
Gampha Additional Magistrate Heshan Dimel informed the stakeholders in the case pertaining to the Ratupaswala incident today to have faith in the court and to allow the court to resolve the problem.
Now, the additional magistrate made this statement when hearings regarding the incident were taken up in court today.
A large number of residents of Ratupaswala gathered at the Ratupaswala Public Sports Ground today as hearing commenced at the court. Parallel to this, another group of people gathered at the premises of the Gampha Magistrates Court. When hearings regarding the Ratupaswala incident were taken up in court today, the additional magistrate made inquiries from the police regarding the gatherings. The police informed the additional magistrate that a group of people affected by the problem had gathered in Ratupaswala. Additional Magistrate Heshan Dimel, who pointed out that the courts have the ability to resolve this problem, made a request in open court that all parties take care to prevent the recurrence of a similar saddening incident to what transpired before. Meanwhile, the police noted in court today that speedy steps will be taken to file a case in the courts under public grievances. While the reports of various factions were considered in court once again today, the additional magistrate noted that the plaintiffs could take future action based on these reports. Hearings regarding the Ratupaswala incident at the Gampa Magistrates Court was subsequently postponed to the 26th of September.
These reports do not suggest in any way that the effluent water released from our factory has caused a reduction in the pH levels of the water in Value area and an increase in the acidity of the water. Thereby, we inform the court today that the Board of Directors has decided to expeditiously recommence production operations at the factory. It has been advised that if the people do not approve of this, then suitable action must be taken by them within a legal framework.
සුදුසු පියවර ලබා ගන්නා ලෙස තමයි අවවාද කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඇත්තෙන්ම ගරු අධිකරණයට හැකියාවක් නැහැ.
In truth, the court does not have the power to shut down the factory as there is no case against the factory before court. As representatives of the people in this case, we informed court that if the factory is reopened in an ad hoc fashion, then we would take steps to request court immediately for an order under Section 98 as a public grievance ordering the closure of the factory.
ලබා ගැනීමට අධිකරු අධිකරණය ඉල්ලීමක් කරන බවට.
After the conclusion of the hearing at court, the group of people who gathered at the Ratupaswala public sports ground staged a march towards the factory, which is suspected to be the epicenter of the water problem. Subsequently, the attorney representing the people who arrived at the scene informed them on proceedings at the court.
There is no court order. It was agreed before the president to close the factory. In accordance with that agreement, they should go before the president and then decide whether it will be reopened. Without such a decision being arrived at, they are taking a unilateral decision to open it.
Army Commander Dayaratnayaka today ordered the immediate removal from current positions of the brigadier who functioned as the commanding officer when the unrest broke out in the Ratupaswala Valley area incident and the 3 lieutenant colonels in charge of the divisions. Army spokesperson Brigadier Ruwan Manigasuriya said that this step was taken based on the reports submitted by the 5-member committee appointed to investigate the incident. After analysing the preliminary investigation report and the court report, they were submitted to the Army's legal director. The Army commander has called for an investigation of the evidence to see if any person who has committed a mistake here can be brought before a military tribunal. As an essential administrative requirement to carry out these investigations, the brigadier who was the commanding officer in the area and 3 lieutenant colonels who were in charge of the division have been removed from their current positions with immediate effect and have been attached to regiment centres. The Army spokesperson added that the Army commander had issued instructions for the Army to render its fullest support to future investigations into this.
Meanwhile, Venerable Theripahas Siridamathera says that since no proper solutions have been provided by the authorities to the Ratupaswala water problem, he is recommencing a fast unto death campaign. Now, our reporter says that Siridamathera is engaged in this hunger strike opposite the factory that is alleged to be the source of water contamination in the area.
It's time now for a short commercial break.